think, lately in Sweden, there have been a lot of Chinese investments taking place in Sweden. So I've been asked to give a lot of seminars. And my conclusion is that you see a big difference between Generation X and Generation Y. Generation Y being those 18 to 29 years of age, and also the Generation X being those above the 30s until 50s. I think you will find a lot of cultural differences if you compare European and Chinese being part of the Generation X, the older people. Those I should belong to. But when it comes to when it comes to Generation Y, I would say that the similarities are greater than the differences. That's my conclusion.
The generational gap in the cultural differences, Mr. Chu, something to add here?
Yeah, although I pretend to be young, but nevertheless, I don't see this generation gap should play a big role here. Based on my own experience, all these years working in Denmark with the German firm here, I just back to this point, I want to give immediate feedback to the audience who just recently joined the international firm. 2 years, yes, it's very important, but don't take it as granted. You need to fight for it. When 2 years elapse, you have performed, you need to maybe engage your good colleagues from HR, have a serious career development talk. Yes, I have done this and that. I've earned what I'm supposed to have. I'm entitled and package-wise. So this is my first feedback, just listen to these 2 years. Yes, it is extremely important. So pay attention. So back to the question from you, the gap here. I think one thing here as a Chinese working in the Western world, I think you really need to draw a line between who you are as an individual person. Yes, we are Chinese. Nobody can change that. But on the other hand, we're also extremely professional expertise in our own field. So when you draw this line, you might feel much better when you see very unreasonable, critical, but it's just one feedback from normal course of work. When foreign colleagues, they get used to this kind of argument. But if you messed up, then I feel sorry for you. Everybody is struggling. Then you're going to say, oh, how can I get this kind of treatment? I've been doing this and that. But if you take a step back, so you need to be more prepared yourself to integrate yourself as a professional employee. So this is my feeling. Of course, in terms of generation gap, you need to always respect the senior colleagues. No doubt about that. We Chinese were very good at it. So you respect senior colleagues. It can only do you good. So you can learn a lot, and they will always inspire you.
Mr. Madsen, anything to add? The generation gap in Novo?
I think you are right, the generation gap. Actually, you can see with the dynamics in our organization, I can tell you that the average employee age in Novo Nordisk is 39 years. In our Chinese part, we have 3,000 people in China, 30. And we actually see this, but I very much agree that it is probably the generation Y, the gaps are less, but there are still some gaps, I would like to say, and just to make a comparison, we're talking about global mindset. I think that if you have a scale where we have another very important area for us, United States, and then the Kingdom of Denmark, and then China, I think that Americans are on the very provincial age. Americans are very, very provincial. Problem is, it's a very big province, so they can get away with it quite well. Denmark is somewhat in the middle. I think that we have a relatively global mindset, added a flavor of complacency. And then, actually, what we really see in the young Chinese talent, at least the generation Y, that we have many of in our company, is that they are proactively, almost aggressively global mindset. So when you are attracting a Chinese, the first question is, can I get abroad? If you're attracting an American, the first question is, must I get abroad?
I think that calls for a few comments from Mr. Princess. Anything to add to this? Or
No, I agree.
does it confirm your experience so far?
Yeah, it does. I also have experience that we have a 2 or 3 years life cycles when we are talking about our Chinese part of the company. Not only on expectation from the employee, but also on the way that you have built up your way of recruiting people. That they have not like taken away after 3 years and stuff. So that's the way life is.
Thank you so much. Let me shift the focus just a little bit and go back to the up-and-coming Sino-Danish Center for Education and Research. Mr. Gregson, are you in the process of defining a framework for Sino-Danish or Sino-European research and science culture? Or could you elaborate a little bit about this venture of yours that you're probably going to hear a lot more about?
Well, it's SDC is a vicious project. I think it's the first time where you have one country where you take all 8 universities that are normally competing, and together with the Ministry of Science and an equal Chinese partner, the Graduate University of the Chinese Academy of Science, build up something that relates to both research, education on the master level and the PhD level, but also has relations to industry. And then you may ask, where does industry come in here? Well, first of all, we want to develop talent. We want to help China and Denmark to develop talent so they become attractive to Danish companies in China, to Chinese companies in Denmark, and so on. We want to facilitate research collaboration between the academic worlds in Denmark and China. There's already a lot, there are hundreds of collaborations already. But we also want to have the students do project work in Chinese laboratories, in companies, so they will become attractive. So we will develop their talent based on what I would call the best from China and the best from Denmark.
Thank you very much. That sounds fascinating. I see time is running. We have a little time left, and I will allow for questions from the floor. Please raise your hand. Yeah.
Well, I would like to ask questions to some of the Generation Y Chinese here. There must be some Generation Y Chinese, because I think this difference which was mentioned up here, I think it is very interesting. And actually, Generation Y Chinese people, they are one Chinese family people. And I would like to just to hear if there are any comments, whether anyone agree with this observation that there is a big difference between Generation Y and Generation X in China, and also whether this is the upcoming globalized Chinese generation which are going overseas. Thank you.
You were addressing this to one of the panelists.
Yeah, we have one there. Yeah.
To the audience.
Yes. We have a Generation Y there. Carsten, your Generation Z.
Yes, welcome. Yes, I'm a student from Roskilde University, and yes, now I'm quite belonging to the Generation Y, which is the age under 29. Yes, I agree with Generation X and Y has some differences when we are talking about the issue. But I think also if it has another factors can influence these issues. I think the biggest ones could be like people who is coming from the countryside and come from the urban area and the rural area. Because I'm the one who come from the countryside, and when I talking with the fellows or the other Chinese from the big city of China, and I can feel the differences, and we have so many, actually we can call it, say, subculture differences. We're talking about some of the traditional of the China, and could be existing in a rural area, which we cannot find from the big cities. So it can be many factors influence the issues. But I'm quite agree with Generation X and Y has differences, but not the biggest one as I see. Thank you.
Okay, we have another Generation Y there. X, Y.
As I put it, yes, I'm over 30s. I'm not Generation Y, and I'm in Shanghai, so I'm kind of in the city, different from the countryside. But I think it's too general to define it as a problem of generation. I think there should be a lot of subtopics on this. For example, I think if it refers to education, it will be very different since the educational reform. I mean, I think if we consider that the most popular topic we are seeing is that the Generation Y is more self-centered, and we think the generation over 30s is more collective concern. That's why, I mean, that is ideological, idea from the educational, policies or concerns. So I think this is also refers to the, societal context. So it's too general, just defined as a generation problem. But if we go details into many substantive facts, it will be more fruitful to discuss this. But yeah, I think it's just my comments.
Yes, we have another Y. At the back.
Here.
May I just cut in?
Yeah.
It wasn't my intention to say that the generation gaps was, the only key factor. Of course, huge differences. There are huge differences between generations, and also the urban people and the non-urban, and also between the white and the blue collar. So please don't misunderstand. But in general, if you ask the MTV generation of the Chinese today and compare to what is the driving factors for them, and compare that to the youth of Europe, you would find probably a lot of similarities, much more than differences. That's my hypothesis.
No problem.
Can I start now? Okay. I'm actually between Generation X and Y, so I'm just on the border. So, I think it's very general. It's very difficult to generalize things, but on the principle, I think I agree with you, and which the X generation will really play a key factor on the culture, multicultural mindset. I think because I can give you an example of me, and I grew up in the city and probably got more facility and things like that. But what I experienced is when I start to high school, I begin to listen to the European music and American music, so which is accessible, which you never get it during 70s or 60s in China. So that helps a lot. And when we move in, and then you got a common topic with the foreigners, and then I think that's help a lot to help us generation to understand and to get some common ground to land in this land which is so far from China. And but I have a question to you guys, and we have been touched a lot of times to say, okay, you have to have a global mindset. What is really the global mindset? I mean, what are we going to do if the culture is collision? I mean, for example, Danish culture is Chinese culture a conflict and the collide. So what are we going to do? I mean, so I think this is my question. I hope you can answer.
But maybe you can say what the big problems in China in Denmark.
I think there's a lot of difference. I mean, you Danish, you speak totally different language than we do, and we grow up in a society where, I mean, there's a lot of difference. But for example, when at the very beginning we asked Huawei, okay, what's the cultural difference between the Chinese people and the European colleagues when they work? I can give